Have you ever been unfriended on Facebook by someone you thought was your good friend? It happens more than we probably care to admit, but author Lisa Jo Baker says authentic friendships are built on two very important factors that help women get connected and stay connected. And I'm glad she's joining me because I think I was just unfriended earlier this week. Welcome to the Harvest Show,
Thanks
Lisa.
for having me.
And here's why, because I don't share the same political view as someone else, and so sometimes they, people get uptight with you.
Yeah, they do.
Stefan knows what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
I've been unfriended before.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
Have you ever been unfriended?
I mean, I think in this day and age, who hasn't, right? I mean, we live in a world where you can just unfriend someone with the swipe of a finger. You don't even have to have a conversation anymore. And yes, as the world climate changes politically and people have stronger and stronger opinions, women are working the button, it feels like to me. And so I have wondered, is that really the right way to respond to someone who might disagree with you or rub you the wrong way?
Now, you're online, you are a popular blogger, and between your personal friends and the friends of the blog, you have more than 220,000 friends. So you're not hurting for friendships, but you say that friendships are based on two very important factors. Kind of develop that or unpack it for us.
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, you're right. We have these wide circles of friends these days on social media, but are we really connected to them in a meaningful way, right? And I think when it comes to women especially, we all do long for a meaningful connection that goes beyond a 140-character tweet or Facebook status update. And so more and more when I've tried to unpack what are those things that are obstacles toward friendship, I think there are two statements we make as women, maybe as men too, on a regular basis without even thinking about it. So when someone asks us, how are you doing? We tend to respond with, I'm fine, right? I mean, we don't even think about it. It's just standard response. But the problem with that is once you say you're fine, well, it's the end of the conversation. Like, nothing more to talk about. Like, we're done talking now. How can a friendship get deeper if we're always just fine? What if we were willing to be unfine with our close circles of friends? Then there's a chance for us to actually go deeper in our connection together. And the other thing we say without even thinking is, I'm so busy. Like, how are you doing? Oh, I'm so busy. And the thing about busy is when you're so busy, then if someone is having a really unfine kind of day, they might feel like they're imposing on you or they are taking up your time or inconveniencing you. So part of what I'm trying to teach myself to say to my close circles of friends is, really, how am I doing? Maybe I'm not fine. And to be available, to not constantly feel the pressure of busy that takes away from opportunity for really connecting.
So when it comes to communication, as you mentioned, we've got a wide net cast with all the social media outlets and simple ways to connect with people that maybe you haven't seen or thought about or talked to in decades, When you kind of look at that, what's permissible or proper or profitable, beneficial to kind of put out there in that broad circle? I would think that you wouldn't want to necessarily...
Right. I mean, you don't want to just drop all your unfine baggage on complete strangers, right? You want to make sure it's the people that are in your close circle. So I think what we share on Facebook might be different than what we're going to share in a personal conversation with someone one-on-one, because we've all been put in really unique communities that God's placed us in and surrounded us by circles of friends that kind of progress outwards in ripples. And the people that are here in this close circle of ours, how can I find ways to be authentic with them? What does that look like? But if I'm trying to figure out whether I'm doing it right or doing it wrong, I love to use this analogy for women. I like to talk about the difference between skinny jeans friends and sweatpants friends, because we all know what skinny jeans feel like, right? I mean, they're kind of restrictive. You feel like you can't breathe sometimes, and at the end of the day, you just want to take them off.
But you look good.
Yeah, but sometimes friendship can feel that way. You're putting on all the right looks and saying the right things, but maybe you're not being an authentic version of yourself, or someone is trying to control or fit you into a certain box that doesn't feel comfortable. Whereas sweatpants friends, I mean, those are the people who take you the way you are, love you just the way you are, let you sit on the sofa and ugly cry if you need to, or binge watch Netflix. And so I think more and more I try to remind myself and the women around me, let's aspire to be sweatpants friends for one another.
Well, I hear you. I hear two things. One, you have to trust people, and two, you cannot be afraid.
Right.
I mean, and there are plenty of examples in the Bible, even with our best friend, Jesus Christ. Kind of talk about him as the perfect example of a friend.
I mean, I love this example he sets for us because we live in a culture that's really asks this question, what's in it for me? With everything, right? Whether it's your commercial or your eyeliner or your hair shampoo, I mean, what's in it for me? What's it gonna do? How's it gonna make me look younger, better, fitter, faster? And we tend to approach friendship that way sometimes. What's in it for me? Or she disappointed me, she didn't live up to my expectations. But Jesus models a what's in it for you friendship. Everything about him showed up to listen and be available. I mean, I love how the Message translates the fact that it says Jesus moved into the neighborhood. You know, like moving is inconvenient. Nobody enjoys doing that. It is difficult and awkward, and he became available. So I think for me, one of the primary examples he sets is constantly asking myself, not just what's in it for me, this friendship, but what's in it for this woman that I want to know and grow and connect with.
Now, when it comes to misconceptions or basically just straight up lies that we kind of swallow or go along with about friendship, what are some of the most common?
Well, I don't know about you, Valerie, but I can have entire multi-part extended arguments in my head.
Oh, me too.
Like, that's where they take place. They're not actually in real life. Right. So I think one of the dangers we face is believing lies that we're telling ourselves that aren't actually true. And then they impact our real life friendships, right, which are so difficult. So I've just kind of looked at that word lie and thought about the 3 letters it stands for. So the first one is we tend to tell ourselves if we've been left out of something, that it was on purpose. And so we assume the worst about why we were left out. And then that can create distance and dissatisfaction in relationships. So the first one, that we've been left out on purpose. L-I, that we are invisible. So somehow, if I'm not exactly like her, there's something less about me, that we're constantly comparing ourselves to somebody else and then reading that as there's something wrong with me. I'm invisible somehow. And then the last one, E, is this idea of envy, that we are constantly comparing ourselves so that we choose. What if we were to choose to encourage one another rather than to be envious of one another? Because comparison is the lie that constantly says, she's better than me, she's got it better than me. And in that way robs you of what God has gifted you and how he's made you, and it detracts from something that he's trying to accomplish through you.
Lisa Jo, I have 5 sisters, and so
wow.
I'm kind of less inclined to let people in my circle because I have so many sisters and I have friends.
Yeah.
But I always I have to remember that, I'm supposed to be a light for other women and to broaden that circle. What do you say to jumpstart that process? How to develop authentic friendships?
Right. Well, I will say this. I think Facebook wants us to think the definition of friendship is the more the better. But in reality, I think it's really the deeper the better. So if you have 5 sisters you're close friends with and a few friends, that's great. Like, I think that's rich friendship. I don't think we have to aspire to have 1,000 friends. But I do think that the friends that have been placed in our lives, we need to aspire to go deeper with them. And so I call that the gift of going first sometimes, like being willing to admit how you're actually doing so that your friend can feel comfortable with how bad her day was and it's okay for her to admit it to you. So yeah, not the wider the better, but the deeper the better.
And we've got a couple minutes here, Lisa Jo. What are the signs of a good friendship? And kind of what are the warning posts
signs.
that it's time that we kind of move away here?
I know. As women, Valerie, you tell me if this is your experience. I think we suffer a little bit from the disease of politeness. And so often we continue in friendships that we know have become unhealthy because we don't see any more the fruit of the Spirit there, right? So instead of kindness, gentleness, all of those things that you see in a really beautiful Christ-centered friendship, you start to see competition and control and passive aggression, those sort of things. But sometimes we just keep enduring in a friendship like that because we're being polite. But this comes back to my skinny jeans analogy. If a friendship starts to feel like a pair of skinny jeans you just want to strip off at the end of the day and you just cannot breathe in it and you can't be yourself, that's usually a warning sign that maybe this is a friendship that isn't benefiting both of you anymore.
So it's called Never Unfriended, The Secret to Finding and Keeping Lasting Friendships. Lisa, we're going to have you back to talk more about this because I think this, I like this topic, and when I first read it, I was like, is it deep enough? Does it go deep enough? It really does. So I'll let you have the last say. When a person opens this book, when a woman reads this book, what do you want her to walk away with?
I hope that she will take away this one thing, that no human being can live up to the perfect friendship of never unfriending you. Only a God can do that. And we have a God who promised in the Old Testament, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. And then in the New Testament, he died to live up to that promise that he would never unfriend us. So.
Okay, so you just heard that. Lisa, I'm going to ask you, I don't have an ink pen with me right now. Ding, bring me your ink pen, please. We're going to have you autograph these 2 books.
I'd love to.
And we're going to give them away. So if you'd like to be guaranteed to receive one of these complimentary books from Lisa Jo Baker. Just email us, the first 2 people who email us at live@laci.com, your name and mailing address, we'll send you the 2 copies of Never Unfriended. There we go. And to connect with Lisa Jo, go to neverunfriendedbook.com or go to harvest-tv.com for a link to Never Unfriended. Harvest continues in just a moment with a special message with Brian Bush about Romans 5 and 8. Stay with us.